Monster Train 2 has wisely stuck to the original's formula and just made everything bigger, better, and more intricate. And honestly, it kinda blew me away. Greetings and welcome friends, I'm Ash, and today I would like to show you what exactly hooked me, what's new in Monster Train 2, and why you might want to jump aboard. Monster Train 2, much like its predecessor, has a very simple yet addictive gameplay loop. Mutated zealots enter your train, you kick them out with a combination of might and magic, and then you use your newfound riches to upgrade and expand your welcoming committee. Your train then moves on to the next batch of madmen, and so the cycle repeats until you either win or finally realize it's 3 AM, whichever comes first. The actual combat is also quite simple. You place down your units in one of 3 floors, and then you fling your cards to either buff them or hurt your opponents. But simple does not mean boring or easy. Quite the contrary. The enemies very quickly scale up in strength, so you're going to need to do some outrageous stuff in order to survive, which is exactly what I find so much fun. The synergies you can achieve between your units and cards can be completely and utterly absurd, often resulting in nearly unlosable runs once you have all of the pieces slotted together. I had a run where every single combat encounter I would earn around 600 gold, while most upgrades I could buy were in the ballpark of 20 to 100 gold. As you might imagine, that run almost instantly went off the rails. And yet, despite how powerful I was, there were still many scary moments, as setting everything up and getting it going does take a bit of time. The way it all works is that at the start of an encounter, you'll draw most of your units and will have a chance to place them on one of 3 floors. The obvious solution would be to just slam all of them onto the first floor where the enemies enter and just kill them instantly. But you will have to be a little bit smarter than that, since some of these units are thick, wide boys that take up a fair bit of the limited floor space. The positioning of the units also matters, as their order dictates when they attack, as well as who gets the honor of being punched in the face in order to save the rest. What I find really cool is that every single unit, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about your super powerful leader or a random dragon whelp, has the potential to become the very keystone of your strategy. As long as you invest the time and effort into making them good, you can utilize just about any strategy. Even in the very limited demo, all of my runs played out in vastly different ways, despite sometimes utilizing the same characters. And this right here is the core of what makes Monster Train 2 so addictive to me. There's just so many different things to try out, so many different ways to play the game that jamming run after run just doesn't get boring. And things are only going to get better in the full version, as instead of having access to only 2 clans, there will be 5. The first clan I focused on was the Banished, a cabal of fallen angels that are all about showing off for the sake of valor. They all want to get into the thick of things as quickly as possible, and so their cards and units reward you for switching up positions and trading blows with the opponent. The second clan was the Pyreborn, a gaggle of gold-hungry dragons that not only shower you in wealth, but also allow you to utilize some of that hard-earned money to power up your units and abilities in a pinch. I found both of them to be a pretty good time, though I would be lying if I said I didn't favor the dragons at least a little bit. I mean, they are badass hell dragons, for goodness sake. 10-year-old me would never forgive me if I chose some hoity-toity angels over that. Once you're done with your initial unit setup, the real game will begin. Each turn you'll draw 5 cards, and more often than not, a new batch of enemies will enter the train. You'll need to either destroy them right then and there, or wound them enough that they'll get taken out by the B team on a higher floor. Failing to stop them means that they'll go and stab you right in the heart, and I do not mean that in a romantic sense. And much like real life, your heart can very easily fend off a couple of attackers, but anything more than that will very likely make it go kaboom. Besides units, Monster Train 2 also gives you access to new spells, as well as 2 brand new card types, equipment and rooms. Let's go for the new stuff first because, well, it's the new stuff. Equipment are cards you can, wait for it, equip onto your units in order to grant them extra stats or new abilities. Each unit can only have one equipment, though you can staple 2 different weapons together at a vendor to create a very powerful, yet very impractical looking abomination made out of 3 spears. It is a very fun way of buffing and customizing your units, and I am genuinely surprised this wasn't a thing in the original game. It really is a perfect fit. The same story goes for the rooms. They are essentially equipment for your train. My personal favorite is the one that gives you 10 gold every single time a unit dies in that room, and that includes your guys as well. So if you can ride that fine line between genius and insanity, you'll be able to score a mountain's worth of gold per encounter, which is something that my inner dragon finds quite pleasing. I don't know what it is about me, but I just love hoarding gold. And I mean that in Monster Train, please don't break into my house. The downside, both with equipment and rooms, is that you have to commit to a floor or unit and you cannot really react to changing circumstances. So if you gear up all of your lads and spruce up the very first floor, any enemies that escape your clutches are almost certainly going to reach the heart, as you simply will not have enough time or resources to build up a second layer of defense. But that's what makes it interesting. You need that little bit of risk to make victory feel all the sweeter. As for the spells, they either let you blast enemies or fortify allies. If you've ever played a card game before, you already know what to expect. And if you haven't, welcome aboard, you picked a pretty good one to start with. Each spell has a unique effect that is tailor-made to synergize with some aspect of your clan. So choosing which ones to add to your deck and which ones to purge is going to be a constant struggle. If at all possible, I would recommend going for as lean of a deck as you can, as this will allow you to draw your best cards more often. This can come back to bite you, however, as enemies often have abilities of their own, some of which can very easily counter the very few cards you have come to rely on. So much like everything else, you'll have to find the right balance, or just go all in and enjoy the power trip. You might occasionally get unlucky and fail because of it, but at least it'll be an exciting journey. Where Monster Train 2 really differs from other card-based roguelikes is with the upgrades. Every single unit and spell can be customized in a variety of different ways, some of which are so powerful you can base an entire strategy around them. Units can get the usual stuff like extra health or extra damage, but also things like multi-strike or a massive buff along with a corresponding increase in size. And considering how Monster Train 2's numbers tend to be fairly small at the beginning of a battle, these sort of upgrades can really transform even the most basic of units into a straight up superhero. Spell upgrades are somehow even better. Some of them can give you a massive power boost in exchange for consuming the card afterwards, effectively trimming your deck for that battle and making you more likely to draw the good stuff. Speaking of which, you can also upgrade spells so they always start in your opening hand, or make it so they reappear in your hand every time you use them. And if that's not enough, there's also random effects that can give you a selection of strange bonuses, as well as artifacts which offer passive bonuses that can sometimes be so powerful they'll define your build. Combine all of this with various upgrades you can give to your equipment, rooms, and the super powerful faction leader, and you end up with a very deep and very varied system that is a whole lot of fun to mess around with. Like I said before, I've done a whole bunch of runs at this point and not a single one of them ended up being the same, and for a roguelike, that is some very, very high praise. As for the presentation, it should come as little surprise to hear that Monster Train 2 looks and plays great. I especially love the unit design, and not only because they're well drawn and look kinda fancy, but rather because even the most generic of bad guys have something weird and interesting going for them, like a weapon fused to their hand or a bunch of phantom limbs floating around them. It adds a nice bit of flavor and mystery to the world, and I am absolutely a sucker for that kind of stuff. The music, appropriately enough, given that you are playing as the forces of hell, is all sorts of heavy metal. The main theme is phenomenal, and most of the boss tracks are no slouch either. But I did find some of the random battle music to perhaps be a bit too subdued. So much so that I've just now had to go check my footage to even remember what it sounds like in the first place. That said, I'm not particularly bothered either way, as Monster Train 2 and its roguelike brethren are, in my humble opinion, best experienced while listening to a nice audiobook or a podcast. No music, no matter how great, can remain exciting when you listen to it over and over and over again. And that is exactly what you'll be doing when pushing through Monster Train 2's many difficulty levels. Like I said at the very beginning, I had no plans to play Monster Train 2. However, the demo ended up impressing me so much I'm going to be getting it as soon as it launches, which has likely already happened by the time this video goes out. If so, I do apologize for being slow. So if you're a fan of deck builders or roguelikes in general, I would heartily recommend you give Monster Train 2 a try. It really is a great game. Just make sure you don't start playing at night or you might end up missing out on sleep. And believe me, I've been there, I've done that, it sucks. Thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed this, or even if you didn't, please do let me know. If you'd like to see more, make sure to subscribe, hit the stupid bell, pet your favorite dragon, and do whatever other nonsense you gotta do these days. Thank you for sticking to the very end, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye bye!